Good afternoon and welcome to the 227th episode of the Georgia Farm Bureau Georgia Prep Sports Drive for the GHSA state title. We've got three great guests today. It's going to be Cherokee Bluff head coach Tommy Jones, Sequoyah head coach James Teeter, and then Cedartown head coach Jamie Abrams. We'll probably get started with those interviews at 12:15, but I'll go ahead and just get into it with some track and field information. We'll also go over the soccer results last night. We have the finals set for the girls, some big games tonight. I'm going to try to go to them as well. But I want to start by talking about track. I've been doing the track and field blog this year, and one of the trends I've noticed, you just see it, a ton of personal records. We have many athletes that are getting not only top 25, top 10 national times, but really setting the top marks in the entire country. One of those guys is Dwight Phillips from Pebblebrook. He has the fastest 100-meter dash time in the country right now with a 10.26. That is blazing fast. He is committed to play at Georgia, and his teammates have also been putting up some really intriguing times. So the track and field state championships, they're actually coming up very soon. I think that's going to be May 10th and 11th. It will be at 4 different locations. And then what track has that no other sport has is they're basically going to have a tournament of champions the week after at Georgia Tech. It's sponsored by the Atlanta Track Club, and you're going to have up to 16 athletes in each event that have qualified by their times throughout the season, but also they'll have an opportunity to qualify at the state meet, and then they're going to go head to head. And so what makes this such an exciting event, yeah, everyone wants that state title, but to be the fastest in the state outright and get that all classification title, that's going to be a big deal. And let's see, I think they get a prize as well. Let's see, it's the Wingfoot Night of Champions. It says the top 3 in each event will receive an award. The award ceremony will be held on the infield immediately following. Each participant will also receive an Adidas Atlanta Track Club swag bag. That's hard to say, but I'm excited about that. It's going to be really great because you look at the state meet, it's 4 different locations, it's multiple days, it's really hard to get all the action, but that's going to bring it all together. It's going to be really exciting, and that's just something we don't see in other sports. We don't get to see the top wrestlers in all the classifications go head to head. We don't get to see the state champions in football, in basketball go to head to head. So that will be a really great way to just showcase how great the state of Georgia has been this year. So let's just go over it real quick, a couple more of the standouts. So you have Eric Singleton of Alexander. He is tied for second in the state in the 100-meter dash with a 10.34. He's committed to Georgia Tech. That'll be his future school, and he's also a great long jumper. Langston Hughes, C.J. Lockhart, we saw him on the football field this year. He's going to FAMU, and he did a 10.57. He qualified. We'll see if he's going to participate. And then Maurice Gleaton, and they're part of that relay team for Hughes that is now the holder of the school all-time record. Curtis Coleman, he's got the second fastest 200-meter dash time. He's at Southeast Bullock. He's also doing his thing in the 200-meter dash. He broke his own school record twice this year, and now he's at a 21.13 in the 200-meter. His record last year was 21.59, so he's gotten significantly faster. You have Westlake's C.D. Najee. He's a sophomore. He's got the top 400-meter dash time in the country. He also is a part of their relay teams with Avion Terrell. The Clemson commit obviously comes from that outstanding Terrell family, what the Lions are doing. We're also going to see the distance races. We've seen some really impressive times. I've never seen someone run a 4-minute mile in person, so I'm excited to see that potentially next month. So you'll have the 110-meter hurdles. It's been a really deep field as well. That's Carver Columbus's Mohamed Diaby has the fastest time in the state so far, 13.78. He's one of two guys that have broken the 14-second threshold. And you have Bryce Dobson, Brookwood's speedster and standout. He's in position to qualify in the 110, but he will definitely be qualified in the 300-meter hurdles. He's got the second fastest time in the state, 37.16. That's the top 25 national time as well. The long jump, we've got so many standouts, and then the high jump. This is a kid I've been following the last couple of years. That's Ryan Rankin from Brunswick. He made national headlines. I think he became the first high school kid to clear 7 feet in the high jump, and he has since passed that. He's at 7'1" this season. That's the number one mark in the entire country. But we have two other guys that have hit 7 feet this season. That's Stars Mills' Tito Alof, and then Langston Hughes, Malachi Yehuda. So Ryan Rankin, he's looking to, I believe, win his third state title in the high jump. Brunswick will be in the same classification as Hughes, so Malachi and Rankin could be in a potential head-to-head. And then Stars Mills, Tito, he is in Class 4A. But I think them all being there together would be really exciting. So looking forward to that. I'll go over some of the girl standouts later on in the show. But we're going to be joined shortly by Tommy Jones of Cherokee Bluff. Let's look at some of the soccer results, though. So last night, the Walton girls had a big 2-1 win over over Forsyth Central, and now they're going to play Denmark. They were the top seed, had some big victories throughout this postseason, 2-1 over Buford, 1-0 over Harrison, and then Denmark is also coming off a 1-0 win over Campbell. A lot of low-scoring, close one-goal victories for both of them in the playoffs. Let's see if they've faced off this season previously. And then the boys soccer team is going to play tonight. So that would be really exciting, a chance for Walton to put both teams in the state championship. That would be an incredible feat. All right, so Walton girls, they're 17-2-2 this season. And they have not played Denmark this year, so that would be a big-time matchup. Their only loss was to Blessed Trinity 3-2 and Lovett 2-1 back in February. So I'm not going to be putting in too much work. I will give some updates, though, but it's going to be really exciting. Tonight there's a doubleheader at Walton that's going to be the lacrosse and soccer. First game will be at 6 o'clock, second one at 8 o'clock. I think it will be fast-paced and really a unique opportunity to see two different sports play back-to-back. We've been to the Corky Kell, we've been to double headers, but not used to it switching. And that's also the benefit of having a turf field with those lines already accommodating both sports. You can just in the game and go immediately to the next one. Do we have Coach Jones ready yet? Okay, perfect. Let's bring him on. Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Great, Craig. Thank you guys for having me.
You bet. So, Cherokee Bluff, you guys have had some tremendous success. You guys are a young program. I thought last year, though, it was pretty apparent you guys had to replace a ton of players that were a huge part of that successful back-to-back region championship run. So talk about some of the youth last year, maybe the challenge of going to 4A, and just kind of where the state of the program is right now.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head right there. We're at a really good spot. We feel like that over the course of the first 5 years of the program, we have had some real tangible success. In years 3 and 4, we were fortunate enough to win region championships in those years and get the ball rolling. And then obviously we kind of graduated that core group of foundational kids that were with us from day one, and replacing those guys wasn't as easy as I think we'd all hoped for. Um, but in saying that, there's some things that we have to do better as a program as we progress. We think this off season we've worked extremely hard, and we've tried to, sort of up the ante a little bit. Add some levels of accountability for our kids, and been very encouraged and impressed by the way our kids have been coming to work every single day, and have done a lot of great things. And we know we play in a very tough and a lot of parity in our region, 8-4A, and you touched on the fact of moving into 4A was challenging for us, and I think you're right, and a lot of good teams in there, but a lot of like teams in there as well. North Oconee obviously last year was the class of our region. Then we had probably 7 or 8 other teams that were kind of deadlocked, and every game was down to the last possession or two. And so a lot of good folks. Walnut Grove had a really good year. They stepped up and showed some real promise as a program, and made a little playoff run there. And obviously you got some up and comers as well with East Forsyth, and Cedar Shoals had a really good year. So obviously there's a whole lot of stuff going on there in that region. But again, a lot of like teams, and we're working as hard as we can right now to see if we could find an advantage in a lot of those close games.
Absolutely. Yeah, the region was really intriguing. Obviously, North Oconee was just I mean, that was one of the best teams they've obviously ever had. I thought they very easily could have won state, competed with pretty much anyone last year. But you had East Forsyth coming to the scene. You mentioned Walnut Grove. Um, I mean, in my perspective, it looks like that region is going to be just as deep this year. So, how do you feel your team is just strength wise? You guys have obviously been hitting that weight room. It's a huge part of getting the program off the ground. So, just in year 5, how do you see it from that perspective?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we have here, which I think is great, is, I mean, we really do believe that we are a developmental program, and we're fortunate enough to where we have a campus where our middle school kids are here, and so they're hearing the same terminology from the time they get into 6th or 7th grade all the way until the time that they graduate. We feel like that's something that we love. We get to know our kids, we get to know their hearts, we get to know who they are, and then obviously our goal and the job we have is developing those kids, um, which is huge. And so the hope is that over the course of 4, 5, and 6 years, is that those guys are being developed and they're growing and they're understanding a little bit more about what we do, and therefore the production increases as well. And last year we had a relatively small senior class. We've got a lot of guys back this year, which is encouraging. But if you look at the region, I think every coach in our region from top to bottom would say that the entire region was young last year. Just about everybody is going to have a more mature, more veteran team coming back. So who knows where all that stuff lands? I mean, there's a ton of factors that go into winning high school football games, and momentum is a big part of that. Unfortunately, we got off to a slow start last year, lost some momentum, and I think that affects confidence. And then you really are working hard from that point on, trying to be able to get confidence back. And so we've taken some steps through the off season, obviously, to again try to find ways to make sure we put ourselves in position where we can win some of those close games. I want to say we lost 4 or 5 games last year by a total of 15 points, which that's hard to do. And that's not making excuses. That's on us. We've got to find ways to be able to overcome that margin of difference and find a way to win those close games. And so that's obviously been a big focus for us.
Yeah, and I mean that 2020, 2021 run, you guys had a perfect season. I mean, obviously, you guys wouldn't have been able to achieve that success if your kids weren't putting in the work. So last year had to feel a little different, though. Just having the smaller senior class, losing some close games. So how has the team and program kind of grown from that experience, and maybe just a different perspective heading into the season on just the attention to details and what it's going to take.
Sure. Yeah, I think you learn a lot. Obviously, you learn a lot in this profession, and I think kids are no different. A lot of times, those kids that are the next generation kids after the foundation kids inside a program is their opportunity. If you're not careful as coaches and players, we fall kind of prone to the idea that it's just going to happen because it's happened before, and no matter how you try to guard against that, sometimes it takes getting hit in the mouth a little bit before you realize, hey, we've got to figure out how we can get better and how we can improve and how we can take those next steps. And there's no secret sauce. I mean, I think we all know that. I mean, we know that there's no magic potion or pill that you can take and everything's going to just be all right. I think it takes going back to the foundation. And for us, those are some core concepts of family and discipline, effort, and toughness, and making sure we integrate those concepts into what we're doing throughout our off season. It's encouraging our kids. It's holding them accountable. It's making sure they understand that the details are extremely important. And those are some of the things that kind of make a difference when you've got a lot of parity in a schedule like we do. And so we stepped into a situation in 4A where our schedule became a lot tougher, and where we graduated a lot of kids. And now it's time to figure out a way to roll up our sleeves and be big boys and try to figure out how to overcome that.
Yeah, and Asher Wilson, he had a really solid season for you last year at quarterback. I feel like you guys were really successful running the ball. You had Max Eubanks as one of your more explosive playmakers. So let's talk about Asher at the quarterback position, just what you've seen from that passing attack.
Yeah, Asher had a really good year. A lot of people don't know this, but he played through a shoulder separation, very similar to what Bryce Young had last year, and really showed a lot of grit, a lot of toughness in the midst of last season. Probably did not have some of the numbers that he would have had if he wouldn't have had to play through that. But he sacrificed that for the best interest of our team, and we're really proud of him. And he's been working really hard this off season. We're excited about the progress that he's made, and look forward to watching him be able to take a big step for us this year.
Awesome. And then what are you expecting just the rest of the offseason? What scrimmages do you have scheduled? And then what big events are you looking forward to in terms of 7-on-7s, just seeing you guys get out there and compete against Georgia?
Yeah, you're right. And we're right here on the verge. We start spring practice on Wednesday, like the majority of high schools do in the state of Georgia once we get into May. And it's a heavily optimistic time for everybody. I think everybody in the state right now is still undefeated. So everybody's excited. They're fired up, and they're ready to go. And, so we'll get through spring practice. We're excited about it. We got a lot of kids that are coming out, a lot of kids that are fired up and ready to go, and have been working really hard and ready to show what work looks like when it's put in action on the practice field. We have a scrimmage against Stevens County on May 19th, which is always, they're always a formidable foe. They finished the season great last year, played Sandy Creek about as good as anybody, in the playoffs. So we know that'll be a great test for us and a great chance to see how much progress we've had. But Coach Tankersley and his staff, they do a great job there. And then our summer will be, full of a lot of work, and we look forward to competing in 2 or 3 7-on-7s, going to the Corky Kell deal, and then as we progress through the summer, getting ready for the season. So it's on us, it's here, and I think if you're a high school football fan or you're involved in it, you sure are excited. We're getting to May because that's when it really kicks off.
Yep, and we'll obviously be watching your baseball team. You guys are one of the best in the state. They'll be really excited to see what they accomplish there. Talk about Caden Thompson, though. He was a sophomore last year. Looks like he made a lot of big plays, had a ton of interceptions. I think he's a 3-sport athlete. Let's talk about what you expect from him next year.
Yeah, KT is he's a competitor. I mean, he's a guy that when the lights come on, It doesn't matter if he's playing tiddlywinks, if he's on the baseball team, if he's playing basketball or playing football. He's going to compete. He's going to find a way to be in the right position at the right time. There are not enough good things to say about that kid because of the way he goes about his business. I think he's hitting 455 right now on our baseball team. That's ranked, high in the state and has a chance to go out and make that happen. And golly, had 5 picks as a sophomore. Golly, just he competes. He's a gamer and he's a winner for sure.
Yeah, ton of big plays. Well, Coach, thank you so much for coming on. I'll let you go. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I know we'll see you soon at the 7-on-7. And, yeah, good luck to your baseball team.
No doubt. Go Bears. Thanks so much.
Yep. All right. There goes Coach Jones. And, yeah, he was talking about KT. 5 interceptions last year, a ton of return yards. He's going to be back defensively. I'm excited to see him in that Corky Kell 7-on-7. See how his coverage works, how he is a man, his ball hawk ability, and then obviously the Cherokee Bluff offense. I'm looking to see who's going to be that explosive playmaker. It was Max Eubanks last year. He had a 96-yard touchdown catch, and they will be solid in the run game. And, yeah, he was mentioning their quarterback, Asher Wilson, playing last year with a separated shoulder. So now that he's healthy, see what they can do. So let's go ahead and take our first quick break. We'll thank our sponsors, Georgia Farm Bureau.
Our mission has always been to support Georgia farmers. That's why we created Georgia Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, providing financial protection that farmers needed. While this remains the same today, we've grown to protect all Georgians through home, auto, and life insurance. From the very beginning and into the future, we stand for every Georgia community.
We are a Farm Bureau.
All right, welcome back. So we've got 3 guests today. We'll go ahead and jump to our second guest right now. That's James Teeter, Sequoyah's head coach. Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Going great. How are you doing?
Doing well. So you're one of the longest tenured coaches at this point. You've been at Sequoyah entering, I think, year number 15. So how's the offseason been? How excited are you for just another offseason to prepare for the season?
Our offseason's been great. Our kids have been working really hard. I think they're excited to get started next week. We'll start next Friday with our spring practice. So I think they're excited to get to it. And, we kind of finished up well last year, got back in the playoffs. So I think everybody's pretty excited about what we're doing and where we're headed.
Yeah, you have an outstanding region. You guys definitely challenge yourselves out of the gates playing Lambert, Raven Gap, Cedartown, Cherokee. You had a big win over Cherokee. I think that's a team that's going to be really good next season. That's kind of a rivalry game as well. And then what were your overall impressions of Region 6 and just how you guys were able to stack up last year?
I think our region is one of the toughest ones around. I think every team in there had a chance last year. Our opening part of our schedule didn't help us much. I mean, we really battle tested us and got us ready for everything in the region. I think just like last year, it's pretty wide open as far as the 4 spots. So, Rome probably leading for the region number 1 right now, but everybody else I think has a shot.
Oh, for sure. And then what is kind of the biggest rivalry for Sequoyah, would you say?
Within the region or just overall?
Overall.
Overall, it's going to be Cherokee. I mean, that's our main rivalry we have here in the county. But it seems like every time we play any of the schools in the county, everybody gets up for us.
Yep, there's going to be some new coaches as well. I think Woodstock, Alatoona. You guys did have that big win over Creekview last year. I feel like they were one of the teams that had a lot of close losses. They're going to be back with a vengeance. But just who are you going to scrimmage in the offseason before this?
We'll go to Meadow Creek on the 19th, and then we have Denmark next fall.
Okay, that will be
which will both be a good test
matchup for sure.
Yes, and kind of see where we're at and give us an idea of what's going on.
And then how did that Lambert game come about in terms of putting that one on the schedule?
Be honest with you, as coaches, we just sat down and decided to try to find 3 games that were going to kind of help us get battle tested for the rest of the region. Because in order to fight through Altoona, Creekview, and everybody in our region, we needed some teams that were going to kind of push us. And so that's kind of what we looked at when we picked up Lambert, Raven Gap, and also Cedartown.
And then talk about the quarterback position. Is that going to be Jackson Nesbitt returning for his senior year?
He's returning, and then we finished up the year with Colby Martin, who will be a sophomore this year. So those two will battle it out this spring to see who gets it.
Okay, and then what did you see from your offense last year? It looks like you guys were able to have a lot of success running the ball, but you have this quarterback battle just in terms of keeping the offense balanced and finding opportunities against some stingy defenses like Rome and Altoona.
Yeah, we early were doing pretty good, and then we struggled right there in the middle and kind of got going at the end again. And a lot of that was due to some injuries and things. For us, we're a wing T school, so we're a running school. But this spring, we spent a lot of time trying to learn some things with the passing game and trying to be able to open it up a little bit so we can get people out of the box. But I think that, what our 2 quarterbacks can do in throwing the ball a little bit, I think it'll help us. But for the most part, we do have to find a way to kind of get the people out of the box. It really hurt us there right in the middle of the season.
Yep, so you'll be running that same offensive system. In terms of returning starters, what's it looking like on both sides of the ball?
We'll have, I think, 5 returning on both sides. Probably our main one will be Jackson Hancock, who's gotten a lot of attention this offseason. He'll be at fullback this year. He's been a wing the last couple of years, but he'll be at fullback this year. And then defensively, Britton Darling at safety and Jackson back there at safety will probably be our main leaders on the defense. But we got about 5 to 6 on each side returning.
Okay, and you mentioned Hancock. So has he always been the fullback in that wing T system?
No, he's been our wing the last 3 years, and we're going to move him to fullback this year.
Okay, and then he's also been a playmaker defensively as well?
Yeah, Jackson's pretty much a playmaker back wherever you play him on defense, special teams. He's all around just a great player.
Yeah, and would you say he's also one of the fastest kids on your team?
Yes.
Yep, that's
He's
right. Yeah, I've definitely seen clips of him. So, yeah, he's going to play a huge role this year. Who else are you excited to see in that senior class?
Brady Curl at tackle, offensive tackle. I think they do a great job. Dimitri Morris, our center. Tyler Bell is our other wing. Most people don't know much about Tyler because they hear a lot more about Jackson. And then it'll be interesting to see what Jackson Nesbitt does after bouncing back from his injury. And then on defense, not a senior, but Taiwo Gundale, who will be a junior, who is his first year at linebacker. Started out a little slow, but as the season went on, he kind of turned it on and really picked up and did really well.
Yep, and then Jackson, he was also I think a return man for you last year, had some big plays. He's going to go back to that role again this year?
Yes, sir. He did really well last year with that, returned 2 kicks for touchdowns. So, yeah, we'll leave him back there.
Fantastic. And then what's the spring schedule going to look like for you guys?
We'll start on May 5th, and then we'll finish up on the 19th when we go to Meadow Creek. We'll practice pretty much every day straight, except we'll take one Wednesday off just so we meet the requirements.
And then what are the goals just this season in the region? What do you get a sense from your guys and just what they're trying to go out there and prove? Coach, you freeze up? All right. Well, that was very interesting. Just looking at Sequoyah, the reason I wanted to have them on, I just think last year when you factor in who they opened the season with, Lambert, a team that was absolutely tremendous, 7A powerhouse. Hey, Coach, what I wanted to ask is just –
I lost you.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, 6A, it's absolutely stacked. We talked about your region, but in terms of just the goals of this season, what your team's looking to go out there and prove uh, what would you say to kind of describe that mindset, and like what's the main kind of slogan or motto you guys are using day in and day out? Oh, wait, Coach Abrams, come on. I sent him different ones. That's my fault. All right, but yeah, we'll get to Coach Abrams in a second. I just want to close out on this. So, Sequoyah, they mentioned the big scrimmages they had. They're getting ready to have opening the year against Lambert. That's going to be huge. Lambert is absolutely on the upward trajectory under Coach Mark Beach. They're coming off a tremendous season. They'll play Raven Gap again. They lost that game 35-28 last year. We'll see how they can do it in the rematch this year. And then Cedartown. That's our next guest, but that's going to be a huge test for them. They lost 35-0 last year, but then had a ton of success. The big rivalry game, that's going to be their final non-region game against Cherokee at home, and they won that one last year. A ton of big games, a lot of great local action, and then in that region, I think Etowah is going to be better. River Ridge is always tough. You have Rome, Creekview, Allatoona, and Woodstock. So you're looking at 6 teams that are going to be in that potential fight. Obviously, Woodstock's trying to get better as well. And then last year you had a 2-way tie between Allatoona and Sequoyah. And then you had Creekview missing out on the playoffs as one of the better teams in 6A. So tremendous region. I think Coach Teeter's exactly right. That is one of the best, deepest, and toughest regions in the state. It's going to be really exciting. So we'll go ahead and take one more quick break, and we'll get set for our interview with Coach Abrams.
Our mission has always been to support Georgia farmers. That's why we created Georgia Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, providing financial protection that farmers needed. While this remains the same today, we've grown to protect all Georgians through home, auto, and life insurance. From the very beginning and into the future, we stand for every Georgia community.
We are our Farm Bureau.
All right, welcome back. So we will be joined shortly by Coach Jamie Abrams of Cedartown, coming off a 14-1 season. They absolutely dominated and then had a tremendous outing against Benedictine, lost in a heartbreaker, but really it's just one of those things. Benedictine had the play at the end of the game, but other than that, I mean, you cannot discount what they accomplished last season, that special senior class. And so I'm just interested in how the offseason's been and just what they're looking to accomplish this upcoming season with a group that has been obviously they have a ton of experience, played in all these big playoff games. I think they're going to come back with something to prove once again. Hey, Coach, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
Doing well, too. So, yes, how has the offseason been? Last year, obviously a great year for you guys, an emotional ending, but there's a lot to build off of, a lot of experience coming back, guys that played in really tough ball games. So what is about that Cedartown identity, that toughness that has just been preparing you guys for another big season?
Well, I mean, that you said it there when you say toughness. I mean, I think regardless of talent level, sometimes if you've got a group of kids who are tough and play with great effort, it makes them hard to beat. So part of our off season is geared towards just doing hard things, and that's kind of where we are right now, heading into spring ball.
Yes, and I just thought your team last year, we all saw it. You guys didn't shy away. Went out there. Just the effort was absolutely tremendous. Guys like Eli Barrow, I mean, one of the most unforgettable players I've ever seen. He was so tough out there. Harlem Diamond, great career, but then after there you see all that hard work pay off. They get their opportunities to go to the next level. So, I mean, how excited are you for them, just what they were able to do, and just being able to represent Cedartown program at the next level?
No, I'm extremely proud for all those guys. We had three guys sign in February: Patrick Gardner, Harlem Diamond, and Eli Barrow, and then we have one actually just signed this week, Xavier Hargrove. Some of the guys have chosen to just go be students or pursue other things, but we try to help them. If that's what they want to do, we do our best to try to help them further their playing career. So we've got four guys now going on to do that. So, you know, always that's one of the main reasons I got into high school coaching, was just to try to help in that avenue in their lives, and so that's a big deal for us, to let those guys, or help those guys go on and pursue their playing careers a little bit further.
For sure. And talk a little bit about your weight training program, because obviously we've seen the clips where Nick Chubb will go viral. He's coming back. He's working out there, but I mean, it looks like you guys, in terms of the powerlifting, the pride you guys take in the weight room, you guys really seem to just really have that as part of the Cedartown identity.
There's no doubt. I thought when I got here, I thought that the weight program was already in really good shape. So I haven't messed with it much. Just kind of let we obviously make changes from time to time, year to year, and so forth. But our kids enjoy it. That's kind of who they are. Every one of like today, Nick was here working out this morning. We have another player who's playing in college. Anytime they're home, whether it be for a day or spring break, or when they're here in the summer or whatever, anytime they're back, they're in the weight room too. So I think that's huge for our guys to see the guys who have gone on and done some of the things that they want to do in pursuing that career after high school, their playing career after high school. So it's an integral part of what we do.
Yeah, and you guys, I mean, you took over 3 years ago. You guys have never lost a region game since you got there. What did you see overall, though, in Region 7, just in terms of your Central Carols, Heritage, Catoosa, Sonoraville, the Whitfield schools, just kind of where they're at and what kind of challenge they're going to be this upcoming season?
Well, I think when the first school you mentioned was Central, they got a new head coach, and they got a lot of talent there, and some SEC offered skill kids. So anytime you've got that, I mean, they're going to be a talented group. And I know Coach Brown. I know the job he did at Paulding County, and I've been familiar with his work, so I know he does an excellent job. They're well-coached teams. Heritage was a playoff team last year. Sonoraville was a playoff team last year. I actually worked with Coach Pate a long time ago, so know what he's about, and I know they'll be really good and prepared. And then obviously, sorry about the bell.
You're good.
The Whitfield schools, I think they've struggled a little bit. The Northwest is always poised, that they're always a worrisome group for me too, because I think Coach Robinson does an outstanding job. And then at Southeast, Coach Murray has really done a good job with that program. They won 4 ball games last year early on, so I have nothing but respect for all those guys that we play within our region. Just so happens that we've been fortunate enough to win some of those games.
Yeah, and I want to focus a little bit on just what you guys have been able to do defensively. But you guys opened the year against Rockmart. I believe that's a school that's pretty close to you guys geographically. But, I mean, I looked at what Rockmart did last year. Their offense was just killing people, and then you guys came out. So talk about what kind of test that was for you guys just out the gates playing Rockmart.
Well, it's if you've ever spent any time in this part of the state, it's a heated rivalry no matter what sport it is. I mean, it's I think we're 12 miles apart or something like that, and we're in the same county. So it's been a big rivalry for a long time. And I thought they were extremely talented last year, very fast. And then you're dealing with a rivalry game, like I say, out of the gate. So it was a huge test for us in week one, and will be again this year.
Yep, and they lost in overtime to Fitzgerald in the playoffs. They were a team that very easily could have contended for that two-way title. We actually just got off the phone with Coach Teeter at Sequoyah. That's another tough football team you guys are going to be playing. Calhoun, Dalton, and then Callaway. So obviously your team knows that's going to be a big test in that non-region to get you guys prepared. So who has kind of stepped up as a vocal leader this offseason? Who are you going to be depending on to just fill the shoes of some of those seniors?
Well, a number of guys. I think, you started at the quarterback position. Drew Ledbetter's been our backup for 3 years, so, he'll be the incumbent unless somebody beats him out. I think he's had an outstanding offseason. He works his behind off. Anytime the doors are open, he's here. Anytime there's extra work or anything, I mean, he's what you want at that position. So I'd say you got to start there. I am on our seniors right now about filling those roles because, sometimes you have a large class or you got a class of kids, and a lot of those kids that we had last year played for 3 years. So, they're so used to taking a back seat that they don't realize that they're not here anymore. I would say starting there. Then on the defensive side of the ball, Taji Neal will be a 3-year, could potentially be a 3-year starter. In the secondary, so I'd say it'd have to be with him too. With those, you just talk about seniors, just offensively and defensively. We got a couple young kids, some rising juniors that have had really good off season, done some good things in track. Just kind of looking to those guys for some of that leadership. We got a little bit of smaller senior class this year, and a larger junior class. So those are, if I was saying on one side of the ball, that's kind of where I would start with those guys who have play those integral positions and will be dependent on or have that playing experience. And we got several of those. I think in the state championship game we may have played 7, not starters, but 7 sophomores. If I'm correct, I can't remember. I have to count them up, but a lot of them logged some big minutes in that game. So the other deal here is we're not going to have 100-something players, so getting them to do multiple things is huge for us.
Yeah, for sure. The class of 2025 is a trend I'm seeing with a lot of coaches. There's a lot of talent budding in that graduating class. I want to talk just real quick about 4A, though. You guys were definitely a part of this trend. I just feel like it stood out because there were so many teams that just were physical. They ran the ball. They prided themselves on running the ball, whether it was Wayne County, Holy Innocents, you guys. A lot of football teams that go out there and play that style of football. So, I mean, how big is that just in terms of motivating your team, knowing that it's not going to be about how fast you are. It's not going to be about that you're going to have to win that battle and play physical football to emerge out of 4A.
No, I mean, that's something we talk about a lot, just based on who we are. And, you talk about those guys that signed. I mean, I thought we had a great senior class, and, we got 2 Division II guys and 1 NAIA guy, that signed in February. So it wasn't like we were playing with a bunch of, 4 and 5 stars and SEC, ACC, Power 5 type kids. So I talked to him about that a lot. Is playing good together, and running the football takes all those things in order to make it go. So that's just kind of where we've built our identity and kind of who we've been the last few years is being able to run the football.
Yeah, and I definitely think those guys that we're mentioning that went on to sign, I mean, they just represent your program so well. I mean, when I see Eli Barrow, I just think of your style of playing. What do you expect from him in particular, though, at the next level? A guy that was an absolute tackling machine, one of the most physical players. I mean, how big a role do you think he might end up playing at West Georgia?
Well, I would like to think that he can go in there and contribute. I think, he was not only our leading tackler on defense, but he was our leading tackler on special teams. So I would
Jeez.
think very early on he can contribute in some form on special teams. He was also our long snapper, so he brings that to the table as well. So I feel like he can be a contributor early there because of all those things.
Yeah, he's just a no-brainer in terms of who you'd want on your college football team. Just tough kid. He's gonna get it done for sure. Who on this year's team though has stood out in the weight room, putting up those numbers and really kind of setting the tone in that department?
Well, we hadn't quite put up the numbers that we put up in the past this year just yet. We got a sophomore defensive lineman, offensive lineman, Jacoby Diamond, who has done a really good job in the weight room as far as trying to get stronger. Tay Harris, another sophomore, he shows up every day consistently, and he's gotten better and better each week in track. I mean, he's a kid that plays DB and running back that's already been sub 11 in the 100 meters, which I think is really good for that as a sophomore. I mean, he's running 10.8. He's actually won the region in the 100 and 200 meters this past week. And then I would say that those two guys, as far as that, a couple other kids that kind of work out down there in that rack. Isaiah Johnson is a kid that played some last year for us that they'll be dependent on this year. That's really done a good job in the weight room. Like I say, it's kind of part of the culture here, and they just know that it's going to be required. And if they buy in, they'll see results.
Yep, and I know your baseball team's been outstanding too. There's some football guys on that team. They have a really good chance of getting it done this year. They'll play Westminster next. So, yeah, you guys are doing a great job across the board. It's not just football. Cedartown has been very successful.
Appreciate it.
Yep. All right. Well, Coach, thank you so much for coming on. We'll catch up later on. And who are you guys going to scrimmage just before the season?
Our preseason scrimmage in the fall is Cass. We don't do a spring scrimmage, and talk about talent. They've got it over there.
Yes,
So
they do.
between our scrimmage and our non-region, we'll be battle tested like we were this year with all those teams that you read off. I think most of them were in the top 10 last year, and I assume that they'll be in the top 10 again, just because of what they've done in the past and those programs with the Callaways and the Calhouns and the Rock Marts and Sequoyahs and Daltons. So and add Cass to the mix, our guys will have an idea what it looks like for sure.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Coach. Can't wait for the season.
All right, thank you.
All right, so there goes Coach Abrams. Coming off a 14-1 season, came up just short to Benedictine in the state championship game. It seemed like that would have been their year to win it, but they'll be battle tested. 4A is going to be pretty wide open this year. Obviously, Benedictine will be back. Watch out for your Stockbridges. I think Pace Academy will be better. There's going to be a lot of teams in the mix, but Cedartown will definitely have a chance, and they're looking to win their fourth straight region title. They have not lost a region game since Coach Abrams got there. That's in Region 7. But before we close out the show, let's go over some of the top track times on the girls' side real quick. So in terms of the athletes in all the different classes that have qualified for the Night of Champions, we have Ryan Davis of Hillgrove. She has the fastest 100-meter time in the state, and she is also the fastest in the 200-meter with a 23:04. So she is definitely the standout. I know in terms of the relay teams, Westlake's been very good, but she has been the fastest girl in the state this year. Sydney Harris of Buford, she has the fastest 400-meter time. Buford's having a great debut in 7A. Let's see, in the 800. Okay, what I'm looking for is which one of these teams has the multiple girls kind of in this top 20 range, because that's going to be key. So it looks like Harrison has about 3 girls. Brookwood has 2 with Allie Wardle and Macy Felton. So that's key. If you can qualify 2 runners in one event for the state championship, that is going to give you a ton of points, give you an opportunity to win that team title. Blessed Trinity has a ton of girls also. In the 1600 meter, we have 3 girls that have broken the 5-minute mile mark. That's Claire Shelton of Dunwoody, Caroline Hood of Pace Academy, and Lottie Chappell of North Springs. Pace Academy is dominating the distance runs, and in the hurdle, J.C. Wright of Buford has the fastest time in the state, followed by Olivia Powell and Carrollton's Kalani Witherspoon. And then Olivia Powell has the fastest 300-meter hurdle time. In terms of, I'm going to go to the high jump real quick because I think I saw, okay, that's Dana Nimhard of Decula and Jalen Frazier of Marietta. Both have a 5'10" jump. That is huge. You automatically qualify if you have a 5'8". Looks like there's 6 girls so far that have hit that mark, and they're at the top tied. So who's going to win the state in that event will be interesting to see. And I think I saw a clip where one of the girls was really close to getting that 6-foot mark. That would definitely be a national best if they're able to do that. So, I mean, the track season, it is hard to keep track of all this, but the state championships, that's going to obviously let us know who has been peaking through this season, who is going to potentially set the records and then qualify for this event, and we'll have all that coverage at scoreatl.com. Follow me tonight. I will be at Raider Valley. I'm going to see if they can punch their tickets into the soccer state championships, and the lacrosse would be the quarterfinals. So that would be exciting. And then the girls play tomorrow. You can go to scoreatl.com. We'll have all the score updates. Go to the AJC High School page. We have all the schedules, and we'll be back next week for another busy week. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you then.